So, yeah, getting there real fast myself. So we just put it out that they can live stream through our YouTube channel.
Ah, great. Well, that's good.
Okay, she's going to start.
2, 3, testing. Good evening. There we go. We're live. Literally, we're live. This is being live streamed. And so here at Arlington, we welcome all of you to this evening of learning and information with the League of Women Voters so that we can figure out what these propositions are, right? I don't know about you, but I'm confused, okay? And so this evening has been put together by our very own Ruth Robinson. Come on over, Ruth, and...
And yeah, Pastor Celeste, thank you. This is our event today is sponsored by the Board of Missions and Social Justice, and it's my pleasure to introduce Consuelo Lara. And Consuelo is here from the League of Women Voters from West Contra Costa County, and that includes Kensington and El Cerrito and Richmond and San Pablo and El Sobrante, and who else did I forget?
I think that's it.
That's
yeah.
it. Okay. So without further ado, and I'm sure we'll have maybe some questions afterwards too.
Okay,
Thank you,
fine.
Consuelo.
Great, thank you. Okay, can everybody hear me all right? Okay, good. The microphone closer to my mouth, or I'll just move over closer to it. How's that? Is that better? Okay. I have to admit I'm a little intimidated right now because I was expecting a little more casual, and I was told this is casual. So, yeah, but I have a lot of stuff I want to share with you. I have several of these easy voter guides. I actually have more in the car. I wasn't sure how many people would be here, but I've put a few on everybody's table, as well as our Voter's Edge. This is really great when you want a lot of detail about the ballots, about the propositions. So I have a few of those, and there was a few League of Women Voters pens, and also at our last annual meeting, one of our members brought fortune cookies with little League of Women Voters messages inside. So those are back there on the on the refreshment table. So those are some gifts we brought. And I guess I'll get started with the propositions. So there are currently 7 propositions on the ballot. And one of the things I have to tell you is I was able to go to the state League of Women Voters conference a couple of times and watch the process for approving or endorsing different issues. And I was very, surprised by how extensive the process is. People come through the various chapters and may bring an issue that they want to have everybody to look at and to be endorsed. They do research. There's meetings of the membership, and the membership discusses it. I mean, there's just a whole process that's involved before they get to the point of, okay, the league endorses this proposition. So it's not taken lightly, and sometimes just the league itself will come up, but usually it comes up through the ranks of the chapters who think that this is something we need to put on or our support behind. So that's why I say that, because when I looked at some of these propositions and you think, how come there's either no position or sometimes they're neutral? And it could very well be that it wasn't brought forth for endorsement. So that's kind of one of the reasons I thought that might be going on. So the propositions are, number 1 is the constitutional right to reproductive freedom. There's number 26, allows in-person roulette and dice games, sports, wagering on tribal lands. And 27 allows online and mobile sports wagering outside tribal lands. 28 provides additional funding for the arts and music education in public schools. 29 requires on-site licensed medical professional at kidney dialysis clinics and establishes other state requirements. 30 provides funding for programs to reduce air pollution and prevent wildfires by increasing tax on personal income over $2 million. And 31 is a referendum on the 2020 law that would prohibit the retail sale of certain flavored tobacco products. So those are the propositions that we'll be seeing on the November ballot. And this is your voter guide for the League of Women Voters. And it has, it lists all the state propositions and what would happen if you vote yes and what will happen if you vote no. So let me go through those and I'll tell you whether they support or not. So Prop 1 is the reproductive freedom. And this one is supported by the League. A recent decision by the U.S. Supreme Court held that the U.S. Constitution does not protect the right to abortion. While access to abortion is no longer federally protected and is under attack across the country, we can safeguard access in California. Proposition 1 will amend the California Constitution to enshrine the fundamental right to choose an abortion, use or refuse contraceptives, birth control, and make individual decisions on reproductive health. These rights are consistent with existing law, state laws, and our state constitutional rights to privacy and equal protection. Access to affordable, comprehensive reproductive health care, including abortion, allows people to plan their lives, protect their health, and achieve their dreams. Prop 1 protects access to the care that will give individuals and families the freedom to make those choices. Vote yes on Proposition 1. Does anybody have any questions about that one? Yes.
For women who come from out of state, are there any protections for them?
That is a good question. In my review of the literature, I haven't seen anything on that. But my guess is yes, I would think so, if they come to, get health care.
Texas to here, Texas is going to arrest them.
Yeah, yeah.
Pardon? Yeah,
Ah,
yeah. That's the real question I have about that, is there a protection for them? I'm a former clergy counselor for Clergy Consultation Service on Abortion.
that's important.
Advocated for Roe versus Wade.
Mm,
And so I actually counseled women to go to, when I was in Chicago, to go to St. Louis so they could have an abortion.
yeah,
And I know that's a real issue.
absolutely. That is an issue, and that's a very good question. Thank you for that. Yes.
The argument against Proposition 1 says that it is the extreme, expensive, and a pointless waste of taxpayer money. Oh, okay. The argument against says that it is an extreme, expensive, and pointless waste of tax money that will allow unrestricted late abortions. But the proposition doesn't talk about a cost. So can you explain that, what this extreme, expensive, and pointless waste of tax money is?
I think what I read was that this proposition really reaffirms what we have in place. So the only cost I could think of was the cost of putting it on the ballot itself, rather than once it's in place, it costing any more money. Because it really is just affirming that these rights are protected. So I can't see any. But I do have some further information about how much money was spent for it, how much money spent against it, who are the groups for it, and who are the groups against it. So would you like to hear that? Yes. Okay. This is what I have so far. The money spent for it is $8.9 million. And the key players for this are Gavin Newsom, the Senate Pro Temp, Tony Atkins, Assembly Speaker Anthony Rendon. I don't know if there's any more to that. And then against, they've spent $370,000 spent. And the key players are the Republican Party of California. So those are kind of for and against. Surprise, yes.
This is a clarification question, please. It says, since this is a constitutional amendment, and in here it says it's 2/3 vote of the legislature and also a vote of the people. Would that be 2/3 in both legislature and the citizenry have to pass this?
No.
So it's just common majority?
Yes. Good questions. Okay, are we ready to go on the next one? Okay, let's go on to Proposition 31. Ban flavored tobacco. This one is supported. In 2020, California passed a law banning the in-person sale of flavored tobacco products like candy-flavored e-cigarettes and menthol cigarettes at stores and vending machines. The sellers violating the law would be subject to criminal misdemeanor prosecution. A yes vote on Proposition 31 is a vote to keep the ban in place. More than 2 million middle and high school students in the U.S. use e-cigarettes, which deliver large doses of addictive nicotine. In California, 96% of high school e-cigarette users choose flavored products. Nationally, 80% of kids who use tobacco started out with a flavored product. In addition to the well-known dangers of tobacco-related disease and death, epidemic usage among youth poses risk to brain development, attention, mood, and impulse control. Furthermore, for many decades, tobacco companies have targeted Black communities with well-funded campaigns to promote menthol-flavored tobacco. And now 85% of Black smokers using menthol cigarettes and deaths caused by tobacco-related diseases, including heart disease, lung cancer, and stroke, among Black people exceeds the deaths caused by AIDS, homicide, and accidents combined. Prop 31 is an important step to protect the health and safety of Californians. Please vote yes on Proposition 31. Any questions on that one? Yes.
Against this ban?
Can you say who's against the ban?
Yes. Let me get this. Oh, okay. So this is 31. 31. I'm getting these. Hope I got these in order. 7, 28, 29, 30. Okay.
Can we assume that the tobacco industry is against it?
Absolutely. Okay. Well, for heaven's sake, don't tell me I don't have it 30. Here it is. Okay. Overturned flavored tobacco ban. For it, they've spent $6.2 million, and the key players are Michael Bloomberg and Kaiser want to get rid of the ban So they're for getting rid of this ban against it. No, the other way around. They're for. They want the ban to stay in place. And against, spent $23 million, are R.J. Reynolds, Philip Morris, USA, National Association of Tobacco Outlets. There you go. Yes.
I got confused. So, voting yes will keep. I'm sorry, I got confused. So is voting yes keeps the ban on these cigarettes in place, and a vote of no makes the ban go away and makes these cigarettes more available? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
So the league supports Proposition 31 and vote yes on Prop 31. Okay, so the next ones, there isn't any really explanation, but I'm going to try to clarify why. So no recommendation on the other November ballot propositions. When the League of Women Voters has no pre-existing position relevant to a ballot measure, we offer no analysis. When we are neutral, we offer an explanation as to the reasons for our neutral stance. We are either neutral or have no position on the remaining November propositions. And I think that has to do with what I mentioned before. If they reviewed it and are neutral, it's possible they came up with no final decision, but they still went through the process, whereas when there is no position, it may not have even come before them to study, for study. So in that case, Proposition 26, any questions? Everybody got that? Okay, so we're on Proposition 26. Sorry to be jumping around here. 26 is in-person sports betting in tribal casinos. There's no position on that. Proposition 27 is online sports betting. Again, no position. Yes.
Well, I wrote down a note, but I couldn't finish writing because you'd gone to the next one. So you said that 26 allows in-person betting in casinos. Is there more to it than that?
My understanding, what I've read, is that 26 wants to increase the types of gambling. Right now, the casinos can only have certain types of gambling in their casinos. And this would increase the kinds of gambling that they can have.
Okay, that's good information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And, okay, so that's the main difference between the two. Whereas 27 is just online sports betting. That's just open to everybody. Yes, thank you.
I know some people haven't gotten their guides yet in the mail, but I have mine in front of me, and it says that a yes vote on 26 specifically is pertaining to racetracks. 4 racetracks could offer in-person sports betting. Racetracks would pay the state a share of sports bets made. Tribal casinos could offer in-person sports betting as well, roulette, and games played with dice. But it also applies to racetracks. Tribes would be required to support state sports betting regulatory costs at casinos. People and entities would have a new way to seek enforcement of certain state gambling laws. I don't know if that helps.
Thank you. Yes, those were the different types of gambling that they could include in their casinos. Okay. And there's no position on either one of those. Yes.
When the league takes no position, What can we assume from that? They couldn't decide, they couldn't agree, there was not enough information or data?
That's a good question, and like I said, that I think what may have happened is they couldn't agree, you know. It's, when I looked at them both, I thought one was better than the other, but upon close examination, they both increase gambling. So the league has their opinion and I have mine. So, but that's kind of where that one went to. So let's see, what's next? Oh, more questions, yes.
Both of these could pass, and what would happen? Both of them could be defeated, and we know what happens. What?
That's a good question, yeah. One of them is saying that if it passes, there's going to be all this money for homeless projects and all of that. But I think what it means, we're going to have a lot of, especially young people, gambling online, and I just think it's going to be terrible. And of course, the corporations are going to make a lot of money off of that.
Okay, but that doesn't completely answer my question. I want to know if the passage of one negates the other, or if there's any relationship between the two in terms of that. They are, but they... Yeah.
The passing or not passing of one does not affect the other. They're two separate propositions, yes.
Yeah, the 26 is basically about Indian casinos. It's in the argument, is that there's 5 Indian casinos. It expands the type of gambling that can happen in those casinos, particularly sports betting, sports book, if you go to regular casinos. So they can offer that instead of slots and table gambling if they have it. 27 is entirely different. It's for people that, I go on to DraftKings because I'm involved with fantasy sports. A lot of people are involved with fantasy football and the like. This just expands that to money gambling on DraftKings and whatever the other one is. But they're very different kinds of gambling, and for 27, it doesn't involve casinos at all. It's a different place, a different type of gambling. And you know, where the money goes, that's a whole different argument. But you know, people that enjoy, you know, there's a lot of people that enjoy gambling, so it's a different place. I think the one thing on 26 that's come out is that there are only so many tribes that have casinos, and there's a lot of tribes that don't have land or have casinos. There's a lot of tribes, so they don't benefit from the other things. So you see on the argument against, you'll see a list of 50 indigenous tribes that are against it because they don't benefit from it. It's the ones that have the land are existing, and it expands what they're doing. But they're very different.
So for 26, the sports betting on tribal lands, the people for this, they've spent $160 million, and the key players are BetMGM, FanDuel, DraftKings, and the people against that sports betting are, they spent $150 million, and the key players are San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, and the Rincon Band of La Sueño Indians, and the Yucca Debi Wintu Nation. So those are the ones that, sorry about that, this is very small type. And then for 27, which allows online sports betting, the for and against, people for it spent $9.9 million. The key players are California for Arts and Music Education and Public Education. Oops, am I looking at the wrong one? Oops. Oh, that's right. I am so sorry. Yes, yes. You're right. Okay, so 26, sports betting online. The key players, the Rincon Band. Yes, you're right. I'm sorry, I apologize. 26, sports betting on tribal lands. 61 million was spent. Rincon Band of Los Sueños Indians, yeah, this list of native tribes, and those against spent 43 million, and they are California Commerce Club, Hawaiian Gardens Casino, and the Bicycle Hotel and Casino. Okay, so now for 27 online. This looks like it, okay. The key players would be BetMGM, FanDuel, DraftKings. That sounds about right. And the for against, again, another list of local tribes, California tribes. And for the league, both of those are no position. Okay, next is Proposition 28, the funding arts and music education in public schools. The league strongly supports high-quality public education system, and because of the variety of voter-supported initiatives which limit and prescribe state and local spending, California does not provide the level of financial support for its schools, and the league considers adequate. This proposition would provide additional financial resources, about $1 billion per year, specifically for music and arts education. Furthermore, Prop 28 is designed to ensure that low-income schools and under-resourced students who are kept the farthest away from arts and music opportunities will benefit from increased funding. And it reduces the flexibility of our legislators' need to react to future needs and less revenue available to other important state priorities. So there isn't really an additional expense for this. And this one, the league is neutral on. And there were, let's see, that's 28. Arts and music. So this is kind of interesting. They've spent 9.9 million. The key players are the Californians for Art and Music Education in Public Schools, former Superintendent of Los Angeles District, former U.S. Secretary of Education, and LA Unified School District. Against, they have spent $0 against, and there's no listing of key players. So it doesn't sound like very many, nobody's really working against this one.
And in the ballot, there's no argument against.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think that's exactly what needs to happen. So I'm surprised, that the league is neutral on that one. Again, I wish I could tell you why. So the next one, we are on the kidney dialysis clinics. Again, the league is neutral on this one. This measure would require operators of chronic dialysis clinics to have a minimum of one licensed physician, nurse practitioner, or physician assistant at a clinic whenever patients are being treated, offer the same level of care to all patients regardless of how payment is being made, and make reports about dialysis-related infections to the state health department, in addition to submitting federal agency reports containing the same information. Consent of the California Department of Public Health would be required prior to any clinic's closure, and it would require that patients be informed if the physician owns 5% or more of the clinic. Let me see, let's see, what else? There is a disagreement about whether the presence of a doctor is always necessary and if requiring additional staff would exacerbate a medical provider shortage, and over whether costs are manageable or prohibitively high. Furthermore, the League of Women Voters of California questions why voters should be deciding questions of record keeping and medical staffing. The uncertainty of the costs and the benefits of the measure leads us to take a neutral position. Let's see who is here. I thought this was interesting. This is the third time in 4 years that SEIU, United Healthcare Workers, is pushing a ballot initiative to change the private for-profit kidney dialysis clinic rules. And they were defeated. They haven't passed. They failed, but they're continuing. They argue the union has wasted members' dues on previously failed ballot measures that attempt to force dialysis centers to close and put patients at risk.
So the SEIU is against or for this measure?
This is, therefore, they're the ones who brought it forth, and they've done it before, yes.
I know it's been on the ballot.
Yes.
Do we know the purpose of this? Is it because? Do we know the purpose of this ballot? Is it because there's unsafe conditions in these for-profit clinics without medical supervision, that there are people dying or suffering injuries? Or is it just a matter of increasing union jobs, which I'm not against, but I'm wondering what the purpose, the reason behind this is. Do we know?
Well, here's the potential impact. This initiative is three-pronged. It would require a physician, nurse practitioner, or physician assistant to be present during patient treatments, with exceptions for staffing shortages only if a qualified professional is available via telehealth. Dialysis companies would have to tell patients about physicians who have clinic ownership interests. So it sounds like there could be a conflict of interest in some of these situations. And centers would be required to report infection data to the state, which apparently is an issue, reporting the infection data. And clinics would be prohibited from turning away patients based on how they pay for treatments and closing without state approval. So it's just, yeah, to put more regulation.
There's two things. First, is the access to everything, but I want to come back to that. So I understood what you said was that this proposition would force physicians who have a conflict of interest into revealing that. Is that correct? Into revealing the fact that they are the owners.
Yes.
In other words, they can't slide under the table and have that. This is a for-profit too, but they would be forced to accept anybody, whether they can pay or not.
Correct. Yeah. And clinics be prohibited from turning away patients based on how they pay for treatments and closing without state approval.
So they can't turn them away no matter how they pay?
No, it doesn't say whether they can pay, it says how they can pay. So that's
Yeah,
a
but it
little,
says they're prohibited from turning them away. If, for example, I come and I'm on Medi-Cal,
okay,
you can't turn me
okay.
away.
That's different than if someone comes in and says, I have no money and I can't pay.
Mm.
What you have to say is really legit, but it's stated better in that.
Yeah, and if the person could not pay at all, would this clinic take them if they're for profit? Yes.
That raises another question because some physicians don't want to accept Medi-Cal.
Right, of course. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
They only want to accept you if you've got big-time insurance. But if you're on Medi-Cal, they say go someplace else. And this would say you got to take them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it says, okay.
So for this, oh, I'm sorry. They've spent around $7.8 million, and the key players are the SEIU, UHW West, and the people against it have spent $86 million, and the people against it are DaVita, Forensias, Medical Care, California Chamber of Commerce, and the California Medical Association. And I think this is our...
Can you say the last one again?
Oh, the last one was the... Oh, here it is. California... Is it Physicians? Medical Association. DaVita, yeah, California Chamber of Commerce, California Medical Association. That's what it says. And for Proposition 30, income tax on millionaires for electric cars, the League of Women Voters is neutral. Proposition 30 would increase the income tax for very wealthy Californians and use the proceeds on programs to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from transportation and wildfires in the state. The initiative includes thoughtful proposals for moving to electrify our transportation, including incentives and education, requirements for improving charging infrastructure for all road vehicles, and improving the electric grid to meet increased demand. The League supports these goals and proposals. The need to make sufficient reductions in greenhouse gas emissions is clear. However, making decisions about budget expenditures through ballot measures is not a good policy. It reduces the flexibility of our legislators to react to future needs. In this case, this problem is increased because the huge size of this program would force deep cuts in basic state programs like health care, child care, and housing assistance due to a previously enacted spending limit, the gain limit. And so their position is neutral. It's interesting. And let me see if I can find the for and against. This is... Okay, hold on. Wealth tax.
Sorry. Does the tax money go to the general fund, or does it go to a specific pool of money? Oh, thank you. Well,
I'd say,
still doesn't say if it goes to the general fund or not.
That's part of the argument against, is saying that it restricts, it has, doesn't give.
let me read the rest of this, the potential impact and how we got here. California spends billions annually on wildfire management and development of zero emissions vehicles and ZEV infrastructure. But a group of businesses, environmentalists, and public health organizations say more needs to be done to stop accelerating climate crisis. This proposed Millionaires tax has gotten the bulk of its funding from LIFT, which is required under state law to increase its share of electric cars by 2030 and would benefit from a larger pool of rebate money. So this is the wealth tax to support clean air programs. Potential impact. The initiative would tack a 1.75 percentage point tax increase on personal income over $2 million for individuals or married couples. That would generate an estimated $3 billion to $4.5 billion annually, according to the Nonpartisan Legislative Analysis Office. That funding would be split up between three pools: 45% for electric vehicles incentives, 35% for building EV infrastructure, and 20% for wildfire prevention. People for it have spent $17 million, and the key players are LIFT, California State Association of Electrical Workers, and the California environmental voters. Against it have spent $10 million, and the key players are the California Teachers Association, Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, and Governor Gavin Newsom is against. So, this is amazing to me, yeah. The wealth to, okay, California Teacher Association, Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, in the same, okay. Oh, this is from Politico, and then Gavin Newsom. So that's interesting. It's all on the same page, so I know I didn't get that one wrong. Okay. Oh, those three ways? Sure. Okay. Split up into 3 pools. 45% for electric vehicle incentives, 35% for building EV infrastructure, and 20% for wildfire prevention. Okay, I think that's it. Any other questions? I think that's it. Thank you so much. It's the first time I've done this. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. And we do have snacks and water and tea back there if you want to help yourself to a little something before you leave. And just thank you for coming.